Thank you. Thank you. Well, my dad and uncle are still recording this podcast, surprisingly. I hope you enjoy it just as much as I have and we all have. It looks like they're about to start in about 13 seconds.
Don't need no booze. Just come and loosen now.
Hey everybody, this is Rudy Sarza from Quiet Riot. When I'm in the mood for some music and laughter, I tune in to Bob and Gary's weekly show at Second Spin. I'm always interested in hearing what two middle-aged men got to say about music. I just turned 75, so now I get a kick out of hearing these crazy kids ramble on and on. So tune in to Bob and Gary at Second Spin. They will bang your head.
I know. Well, 11 plus 11 was a hit. I remember that. That's the one song I know by them. And also, one of the reasons that they've stuck in my mind is they were on an episode of The Young Ones playing 11 plus 11.
Yes. The Young One. Okay, I never got my head around The Young Ones, the comedy. It's too freaking loud, man.
Yeah. It's very in your face. It was exactly, well, it still is for me. I just love it. You know, talking about going around to different venues in London. There's a guy.
I'm going to go up to the Islington and go to the Hope and Anchor. I don't care what I've got to.
Yeah. It's
if I have to
definitely
see
worth
a jazz quartet, I'm going to go.
There's a guy named Aidan McManus who runs a business called Flipside London Tours. I got in touch with him, and he did a one-on-one tour with me. We spent all day. He took me to Pathway Studios, which doesn't exist as a studio anymore, I don't think, but it's a tiny little building right behind a tire shop. That's up in Islington too, and that's where Stiff recorded a ton of their Records recorded a ton of their records. Elvis Costello,
Nick Lowe.
Madness, right? Nick Lowe's first two singles were recorded in there. I mean, when you see places like that, he took me there. He took me to Stiff's first headquarters. He took me to the Hope and Anchor, to the Lord Nelson, where the Nashville used to be. He texted me at the end of the day and said, "Hey, we walked." He goes, "I just saw my whatever on his iPad or something." He said, "We walked 12 miles today." So it was awesome.
Mark,
and Aiden is a walking encyclopedia when it comes
you've got to send me his contact info.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be with a couple of music buddies over there.
He's great.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
So when I go to the Hope and Anchor, I feel like I'm in that era a little bit of the pub rock stuff, because I saw a Small Faces tribute band there. It was actually a stage play that they put on. I saw Fleetwood Mac, which was an unbelievable cover band. We're going to go see a town called Malice in a month, and some AC/DC tribute band, but that's by the by.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
cool.
I'm sorry. I'm taking this thing kind of everywhere.
That's okay.
That's all right. We've got a couple minutes left until you hang up on me.
No, I'm here for however long you need me. So
okay. Some of the other stuff that I really find, and I remember this from some form of a one-hit wonder compilation. Let me get to it real quick, and you can tell a little story about it, because it's right here. This does not sound like pub rock. Okay, now let's just juxtapose that to, where did my little list here go? No, let's not go to Dr. Feelgood. two totally different sounds.
Right.
Completely.
Right. But both of these bands were, considered very much pub rock bands. They both came up in the pubs.
Yeah. So Ace is Paul Carrick, and most people know him as the singer in Tempted, which when Squeeze plays him now, they play an instrumental over the part where he sings, which is kind of a shame.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I saw him at the Royal Albert Hall, and that's what they did. And I was kind of bummed out. It's like, man, you can get some guy to play that or sing that for you, but that's by the by.
Yeah. I saw him at the Royal Albert Hall too, opening for The Who a couple of years ago.
Okay. I saw that they were headlining, and Heaven 17 was warming up for them.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, Heaven 17 were the shit.
Yeah.
Dave Gregory got 5,500 people standing up during Temptation. My roommate looked at me and she said, I didn't think you'd like this kind of music. I'm like, man, it's Heaven 17.
Yeah.
So Paul Carrick, lead singer, writer for a band called Ace. And over in the US, that's all you would know. They would be a classic one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next song, which is Graham Parker and the Rumor, which took a couple guys from Brinsley Schwartz and a couple other tried and true musicians.
Yeah.
He had a great band. I mean,
he did, formed from, that. So as the, like I talked about earlier, pub rock changed, it evolved like everything does. And some of the early pub rock bands didn't survive. He was the recipient of some of the remnants, the cream of the crop of the remnants of the bands that had broken up. So he had like an all-star pub rock band that came together and recorded with him and became the Rumor.
And I think Nick Lowe produced a lot of his early stuff.
I don't have that.
I don't know.
You know what? Yeah, right in front of me, but I would not be surprised. Nick Lowe was everywhere.
And I loved this fact in your book. Tell everybody how we got the nickname.
Basher? Oh, Basher? Yeah. I think it was towards the end here of the pub rock, timeline, that I think it was Dr. Feelgood, right? That had recorded an album, and was it Dr. Feelgood or Graham Parker? I can't remember, but somebody had recorded an album and the tapes were either lost or damaged and they had to be redone, and they didn't have time to mess around and they needed to get back in the studio. And they said Nick Lowe was like the one take guy, you'd go in there and get it done, bash it out and get it done. And that's how he got his nickname Basher. And I think there's a compilation that's called Basher, actually.
There is. It's one of his greatest hits, which is how I first heard about it. This guy in Chicago loaned me the CD. And I think your quote was, he would bash it out and then he'd say, we'll tart it up later.
Yeah.
Which I think is just proper British, right?
And I love Nick Lowe. Nick Lowe, is not only a great songwriter, but he's another great character as far as there's a heavy dose of smartass.
Yeah.
Very irreverent. And of course, there's a story early on in Brinsley Schwartz's career that there was an episode called The Hype where they went over to, they had a little bit of an overzealous moment where they hyped the hell out of this event. They talked their way into playing at the Fillmore when the biggest stage they'd ever played on before was a pub, opening for Van Morrison and Quicksilver Messenger Service. They got there at the last minute because of visa problems, so they were not able to rehearse. Meanwhile, they had put together a plane load of journalists and fans to come over as part of this big hype, to come over from the UK to the Fillmore East in New York. The plane had mechanical problems. This plane load of fans and journalists didn't show up until the last minute. So they were a combination of inebriated and pissed off. Brinsley Schwartz.
Always a good combo.
Yeah. Brinsley Schwartz played okay. They did not change the musical landscape or, were not this seismic force. So they were kind of ridiculed a little bit. They left with their tails between their legs. but also they left having learned a lesson. Like, you know, this is very pub rock. Forget all the bullshit. Let's get back to basics and just be a really good band. And there's nowhere better to do that than in a pub when you're 2 feet away from the audience. So there's no artifice, there's no pretense or anything. That became a very big component of Nick Lowe, just being very anti. You know, they were offered a slot on Top of the Pops. They were offered a slot opening for, I think it was Elton John. They turned him down. They were not interested in any of that anymore. And that became a big part of Stiff Records, you know, as far as just kind of thumbing their nose at the mainstream. So that's something I find endearing about Nick Lowe is his songs. There's a lot of tongue in cheek stuff, you know.
You can put on his greatest hits and go all the way through it. But I am going to say, "Cruel to Be Kind" is one of the greatest songs ever written.
Yeah,
the melody, the lyrics, the whole night. That is one song I will never turn off if I come across it on a radio dial, ever.
And there's so many, and you know, that's the interesting thing. And I think, you know, like you said earlier on, what's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding was a Brinsley Schwartz song that Nick Lowe wrote, and that version of it is really good. But clearly, the one that people like more is the Elvis Costello version that maybe has more punch to it. But if you listen to What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding by Brinsley Schwartz, that's fully formed Nick Lowe, the way he delivers it, the songwriting, just everything.
100%.
It's beautiful.
100%. So we're kind of up to 75, 76. So it's interesting that January 76, going by your book, literally the calendar page changes. It's just another day. It's January 1, and literally punk rock comes in, boot jacked, whatever the phrase is, the shit out of pub rock.
Yeah.
Strummer sees the Pistols play. Who did the Pistols warm up for?
Bazooka Joe. Adamant. It was Adamant's band. Well, Adamant was a member of that band before his name was Adamant. But
you said, oh no, it was this one. The Sex Pistols slot is a support act for Eddie and the Hot Rods.
Oh, Eddie and the Hot Rods at the Marquee.
One gig. The Pistols opening for the Hot Rods at the Marquee on the 12th. Upstage the headliners with their usual chaos. And the New Music Express review of the gig didn't even mention the headlining act.
Yeah. So mission accomplished.
So here's one thing I got to show you. So my friend Gary sold me this Eddie and the Hot Rods, but he said it comes with a concert stub ticket.
That's cool. When's that from? I can't see that.
This is from Free Trade Hall in Manchester.
Oh, wow.
Eddie and the Hot Rods, December 76.
That's really cool.
£1 plus VAT.
Yeah.
£1. Springsteen wants $1,000 to play for you and lecture you, and Eddie and the Hot Rods will do it for £1.
Yeah. I mean, to be there around that time, there's if I could just read like a little couple of sentences here. This one,
Stop.
you know.
No, not you. I hit the music.
Well, I'm talking about July 1970s. Well, in June, actually, you know, the Free Trade Hall in Manchester, the Sex Pistols played there, and that was where some of the guys from the Buzzcocks, Joy Division, Morrissey was there. Like, it was a huge, seismic event. But in July, I just wrote a few days in July, and again, this is 1976, further illustrate how quickly things had begun to move. On Sunday, July 4th, the Ramones, in their UK debut, supported the Flaming Groovies at the Roundhouse. The Stranglers were also on the bill. That same night, the Sex Pistols performed at the Black Swan in Sheffield, performing in front of about 200 people. The Clash, in their debut performance, were the support act. The following night, members of the Clash attended the Ramones gig at Dingwalls in London.
Yep.
On the 6th of July, so it's just 2 days later, the Damned made their debut performing at the 100 Club in support of the Sex Pistols.
Think about all that shit.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen anybody at the Roundhouse?
I have not. I've never
See,
been inside there.
Yeah, I've walked by it a million times, but I've never been in.
Right.
I've walked by Dingwalls probably, 50 times,
Yep.
never been in. I
Me
don't know
too.
if they're doing shows there anymore, but unfortunately, that part of Camden's getting way too touristy.
Yes.
Oh, let's go see how the other half lives.
Yeah.
So I find those stories funny as hell, and I'm trying to get back to where the heck is my playlist? How come it's not popping up? I don't want that. Just give me the playlist, you knucklehead. No, I don't want that. This is a band. I love this band. Okay, I got to share this screen. Da, 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 da. Bear with. Now let's get some volume going here. Come on.
And Old Gray Whistle Test, another phenomenal supporter of pub rock.
Classic. So I love this band, Ducks Deluxe.
I'm going close to you. Now they ain't good. I'm going close to you. Little one.
I mean,
and
if you don't hear Chuck Berry in there, I'm sorry.
Yeah, very 50s rock and roll influence. That the Ducks Deluxe was the first kind of rock and roll rather than kind of band influenced pub rock band. And I believe that footage is from the Lord Nelson pub. When they chose to record there, which is just down the road. It's now called Horatio, and they don't do live music anymore, but it's just down the road from the Hope and Anchor, like maybe a mile, if that.
I'll have to check that out. Did that guy on the Flip Side tour take you in front of these places?
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
We went to the old where the Windsor Castle pub, and the thing with Aiden too, because I generally will just kind of walk in and look around and keep to myself. He'll start a conversation with somebody and say, hey, we're looking. This used to be a pub, and he'd just start talking to people, and sometimes somebody will walk up and go, "Yeah, I came here and I saw this band." It's way better because he's such a personable guy. But we went into the Windsor Castle, which 2 years ago, or whatever it was, when me and Adam went there, was a cafe. It's like a kind of Vietnamese type food cafe, and he's like, "Yeah, the stage used to be right here," and he would bring it to life for you, and it was perfect. For me.
So my roommate for my 55th birthday, have you ever seen the website over there called Walks, WALKS.com?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 10, 15 pounds, a group of people meet up. It could be a literary tour. It could be a tour of back alleys of Marylebone. It could be whatever. It could be a pub crawl. It could be a Jack the Ripper. She got me a tour of the Muswell Hill area.
Oh, cool.
And the guy took us around all the Kinks stuff.
Yeah.
Where Dave and Ray played footy with Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
Where they grew up across from the pub where their dad would get drunk every night.
Yeah.
And it's now a Indian restaurant. But they have one room that's got a bunch of Kinks memorabilia because a lot of people want to go in there.
Yeah.
But
I love that kind of stuff.
Over here is where they played their first gig. It's now a Sainsbury.
Yeah. It's like where the Tally Ho used to be. The Tally Ho was the very first pub in the pub rock scene where Eggs Over Easy played that first gig in whenever it was, 1971. And it's a co-op now. It's a shop. There hasn't been a pub there in a long time.
So this is another band that I completely dig. I had to order this one on LP, and we are going to share again because I'm kind of new with it. Here we go.
Yeah. And these guys recorded at Path. I think pretty much everything they did, they recorded at Pathway Studios, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Let's hear what they sound like.
Well, 1 and 1 is 2. 2 and 2 make 4. Squeeze me, baby, wanna love you a little bit more because I love you.
Simple stuff.
Yeah.
I could see, and going back to that comment I made earlier about, why Detroit music you work all week, banging out cars, you just want to let steam off.
Yep.
To your point of the socioeconomic, I don't even think that's the right phrase for that. The decade in the UK at that time, rolling blackouts, coal strikes, high inflation, 98% taxation. People just want to go to the pub, spend, a pound for a pint and just get wasted and jump around.
Right.
I can
Just
see
get
how
back to that primal jumping around, freaking listening to rock and roll. And that's
Yeah.
I think that's why that like 50s American rock and roll kind of style kind of hit a nerve, and you even, on some of the Sex Pistols stuff, you hear it. So it resonated for sure.
Well,
And Eddie and the Hot Rods.
I truly think that something, but I just forgot what the frick I was going to say. Oh my God, I'm having
I'm not the only one that does that then.
No. So Pistols, Upstage Eddie and the Hot Rods. Strummer starts a new band called The Clash. Ian Dury takes off from his band. He goes out to start Ian Dury and the Blockheads.
Yep. With Wilco Johnson on guitar.
Feel Good. Wilco splits. Then all of a sudden you've got, the way your chronology seems to work in this book is punk was only there for that long.
Yeah, it really was an explosion.
Like 1 year.
So, the Sex Pistols, after the Bill Grundy thing, which was December 76, I believe.
December 1.
Where they were kind of goaded into being vulgar, which, doesn't take very much when you're the Sex Pistols, but they were provoked into on national TV, live TV in the UK. They became almost like in the popular culture, like Public Enemy number 1, almost the worst of the bad boys. Yeah. So like punk blew up. The Sex Pistols had this seismic impact on pretty much anybody who saw them perform, but very, very quickly they weren't able to perform anymore. Like they had a tour set up, and most of the dates, the vast majority of the dates, were canceled because these guys are the friggin' Antichrist. They've got songs about anarchy and all this, and God Save the Queen and stuff. They had a number 1 song that was banned by the BBC. They were, which is
great publicity.
Exactly.
So was the Grundy thing. It's great publicity.
Oh yeah, but they were, for all intents and purposes, unable to play live.
Well, by the time you got Sid in there, they couldn't play.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Cookie and Steve Jones, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Chris Thomas pointed this out to me, that the Nevermind the Bollocks sessions, I believe, were mostly in 77 after the Grundy thing, and while the Pistols couldn't play live. Chris Thomas's one of his first like engineering gigs was on the White Album, the Beatles.
Right.
And I would never have thought of this, but he was like, the Pistols were similar to the Beatles in that time when he worked with the Beatles. They really were so insanely popular.
He's referencing their talent, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. All right, go ahead.
But he was like, the Beatles were kind of paralyzed because there was so much hysteria around them. He said they couldn't really, like, playing live was really challenging. For different reasons, the Sex Pistols had the same problem. But he said both of them embraced the studio as their like forum for being creative. And he said when you got those 3 guys, John Lydon and Paul Cook and Steve Jones, in the studio, they were really focused and they were intent on making an incredible album. And he said they locked in and did that because they knew that was the only place really they had the freedom to be able to, to do their thing. I thought that was a really interesting perspective for somebody.
No, it is. And you could probably have a bar debate on that one. But I get that. I'm a huge Beatles fan, and I know they couldn't leave their house. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But that's by the by. But without Glenn Matlock in the Pistols,
yeah,
I don't think it would have worked. And I think Chris Thomas has been, or Jonesy has been accused of layering way too many guitars in there. It's like, it's not a natural sound.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Bang, 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 layered like 6 times, which gives it that full sound. It's a great recording.
Yeah. That's one of, one of the big knocks on the pub rock period, kind of back to when we started, we were talking about some of the recordings. Some of them aren't great. Some of them, the energy is the problem. It doesn't translate. Well, the Pistols album does not have that problem.
No,
it's like it punches you in the face.
And that is actually a very good point, because that record sounds live and fresh today.
Yes.
Now, Beatles, Stones, Purple, Sabbath, Clash, Pistols. Most everyone takes a side, and I'm on the Clash side.
Yeah.
I probably won't pull out the Pistols LP almost ever. Now, my friend Gary did have a copy of God Save the Queen, the first pressing.
Oh, wow.
And I should have bought it.
Yeah.
I kicked myself for that one. But so getting back to the book, you say punk was kind of like 1 year, and then the Jam comes in. Who else was coming in there?
Elvis Costello.
Elvis Costello. Stranglers. That bass sound is so indicative of the Stranglers. What's the guy's name? JJ
Brunel.
Brunel?
In the Damned? Or in the Stranglers?
In the Stranglers. See, I wouldn't put the Damned as a pub rock band either. I wouldn't put the Stranglers as a pub rock band.
No, me neither.
Right? So here we have Stiff Records, July 1977. Elvis Costello, My Aim Is True, done by Nick Lowe. One thing I did find funny is that song by Ace with Paul Carrack, that mellow song, the one-hit wonder over here in the U.S., got to number 3 in the charts.
Yeah.
The only pub rock band to chart.
Pretty much.
If I'm correct. Okay.
Yeah. Curse of Flyers had a top 20, I think it was. But yeah, very, very few. But yeah, what popped up after, in that early 1977, the Clash's first album, the Stranglers' first album, the Jam's first album, the Damned's first album, all of them charted.
Right.
So there was more, I was talking to somebody yesterday. I'm kind of big on my Pete Townsend quotes because I wrote a book about him. And this is a quote that I can't find, but he wrote a song called Dirty Water, and he was describing it and said, if there's a tap that hasn't been turned on in a long time and you turn it on, there might be like a bunch of sputtering and a bunch of rust and crap coming out, and it just kind of, goes all over the place. And then eventually the pure, clean water comes through. And he said punk was that. It was the rusty, crappy water that came out of the tap, and it cleared the way. It was like that explosion just cleared the way for all of this subsequent music. Again, the music that I loved and that I grew up on to come through, which branched out into all these different genres. Like this music that we're talking about. Not only the Jam, the Damned, the Stranglers, Elvis Costello, but like Madness and Blondie. And a million other bands that came out in the wake of all of that, in the late 1970s and early 1980s.
Right. The Slits, the 999.
Susie and the Banshees.
Jam 69, all that stuff. But to me, I would put anything between 76 and 79 in that punk category, because I don't think it had filtered out to new wave yet until you got, you got the Buzzcocks, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
I think once they came out with some other like bands, that's when it shifted a little. That's just my humble opinion. And I could be dead wrong.
No, I think you're right. And it's interesting when you get into the very end of, or the period that I'm writing about, the later Eddie and the Hot Rods, the last Eddie and the Hot Rods album that I talk about in 77, when one of the guys from the Cursor Flyers, who was a principal songwriter for them, had I think his name was Graham Douglas, moved over and became a second guitarist in Eddie and the Hot Rods. Their songwriting is very kind of, you can pick up some kind of buzzcocky kind of melodies in there and things. And it's just like, you can, and I'm not saying they're, bands copy each other all the time. I'm not necessarily saying one copied the other or anything, but you're starting to see the beginnings of whatever you want to call it, the new wave that came through.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot more, not necessarily focus on aggression, but simplicity, melody, tight pop songs.
Yep.
And not really giving a shit what it's called. You know what I mean?
I just absolutely love the Buzzcocks, and I know it's a greatest hits, but singles going steady. If I had to pick 10 greatest hits albums, greatest hits, that is one of them.
Yeah,
it is start to finish.
Pretty fantastic,
freaking phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I caught him twice when Shelley was alive.
Oh wow,
08 over here, and maybe like 3 or 4 years later. He sounded phenomenal. Diggle sounded phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they just had hired guns for the rhythm section.
Right.
But I was beside myself. I was so freaking happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've only ever seen him just a few years ago with, Steve Diggle, which was great.
So, and that album got actually pretty good reviews with just Diggle. So we should probably wrap it up. And I only say that because I may be running out of recording space on my all gratis thing. But I love this quote at the end of the book, and going back to the Hope and Anchor. Charles Charmet said in 76, "Where there's the hope, there's life." And I like that.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. So one thing, tell people where you're going tomorrow.
Oh, I'm heading off to, like I said, I grew up in the UK. I've still got a lot of family over there. But yeah, I'm going to Brighton to see Madness on the beach in Brighton. It's called
so good.
Madraphenia. I don't believe, so I lived in the UK for 14 years and I've been back there a bunch, but I don't believe I've ever been to Brighton. So I'll definitely do a little bit of kind of nerding out on some Quadrophenia film locations.
Why not?
And, eat a bunch of extremely bland food that I grew up with, and thoroughly enjoy it and, dig into some old record shops and bookstores. But yeah, the prime reason for the visit is Madness on the beach on Thursday night. They're playing Thursday and Friday night. And opening acts that night are The Selector, who I never saw, but I used to love their stuff when I was a kid.
Is Paula Cole going to be with them?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay.
And I thought her name was, hold on a minute.
I think that the story of Two Tone,
Pauline Black.
Pauline Black. Sorry.
Yeah, Pauline Black.
Sorry about that.
So, and the Blockheads with the guy that used to write songs with Ian Dury that I've forgotten his name. They're going to be playing too, which will be really cool. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. And I grew up listening to Madness. Their first single came out, I think, in 79. So since 10, 11 years old, I've loved Madness. And of course, moving over to the States when I was 14, there were certain bands above all else was The Who and Pete Townsend, but very English bands that I latched onto as part of my identity. And Madness was a big one. And The Jam was another one. So it's going to be really cool for me to see Madness live. I've never seen them before. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I think the fact that they performed at the Queen's Jubilee on the roof
of Buckingham Palace. I'd forgotten about that. There's a new documentary, or I think it came out last year. I just saw on YouTube the other night, and it's really about it's focusing on the two-tone bands, and they talked to Daniel Rachel, who wrote a book that came out a year or so ago on Omnibus Press that I have not read, but I want to read it, about two-tone. They talked to Suggs. They show the video from One Step Beyond at the Hope and Anchor, and Suggs talks about the Hope and Anchor. So there's a lot of direct ties to pub rock, but there's a lot of that, the two-tone stuff in there. So it's really interesting. It's like an hour long on YouTube.
So I just went through this.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's the book I was talking about. Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, he's on that documentary that I was talking about. I want to read that.
So I'm happy to mail it to you if you want. So for you guys who are audio only and not watching the video, it's called Too Much, Too Young, the Two-Tone Record Story by Daniel Rachel. Yeah. And it's amazing that the keyboard player, God, I'm blanking out now. Who is the keyboard player from the specials? Jeff.
Hold on, and I will tell you because I don't know.
Jerry Dammers.
Yeah. There's a he's in that documentary, and he has no teeth. He has all of his front teeth are gone.
Right.
Because Suggs, sorry to interrupt. Suggs is talking about how he goes, back then, we're all really young. He goes, we're getting girls. We didn't have anywhere to stay, so we'd hook up with a girl and spend the night at her house. But he said, Jerry didn't have any teeth, so he wound up staying at my mom's house.
Nice. But this is Coventry, right? So This is way north. Yep. It's an old car town. The town goes, the business goes bye-bye. These kids have a lot of Jamaican influence, Caribbean influence, because they came there for the car industry, much like Detroit got a lot of the Southern influence because of people coming up for Henry Ford's $5 a day thing.
Yep.
So two-tone was basically 18 months. It existed for 5 years, but its heyday was about a year and a half. Madness didn't sign with them.
Right.
Could have, but didn't. And
they wound up on Stiff.
I wound up on Stiff. But what I find very interesting is the fact that in the U.S., Madness is known for Our House.
That's it. But they're freaking they're like ubiquitous in the UK.
Everywhere. When you can play the roof of Buckingham Palace, that means you are a treasured entity in UK
They're
culture.
Like a British institution, They're a one-off. And I think, again, that's one of the reasons that I've always kind of held them dear is their Englishness,
Well, then you got to love the Kinks then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that two-tone stuff. You should write a book about that.
I would. You know what? Well, Daniel Rachel has apparently done an admirable job, and I appreciate your offer, but I want Daniel Rachel to have a little bit of my money, so I'm going to buy one.
All right, fair enough.
You know who needs a book? Go ahead.
I owe you for 2 of these.
No, that's fine. Dave Wakeling.
Yeah.
Needs a book. So if Dave Wakeling wants me to write a book about him, just say the word. It'll take me about 1 second
to say yes.
Yeah, because that's another fantastic, band from that era.
Yeah. No, it is such an amazing period of music.
Yeah, and again, it's all emerging from the culture that's, that fascinating Jamaican culture kind of intersecting in a, I don't know, I was going to say unexpected way with the existing stuff and just forming this fascinating and unique genre of its own.
Do you know Daniel Rachel?
I don't, no.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, introduce me so I can talk to him one day.
Yeah, he's on that documentary on YouTube about two-tone and ska and stuff. And he's and I've seen the reviews of the book. So he's clearly done a, really good job.
If you're a little depressed, don't read this book on those days.
Okay.
Because it's some of it's a little bleak just because of what's going on in the UK at that time, which the 70s all around the world were a little a little dodgy. No pun
Yeah, and then
intended.
towards the end of the decade, we had the Rock Against Racism stuff, and so it was good to see. The Clash were part of that. Pete Townsend was a part of that too.
Yeah.
You
So
can, it's heartening to see society go, no, to
yeah,
certain
no,
things.
I agree. I
Yep.
agree. Like, well, I could go on forever, but I'm not going to because I was just about to mention the Allman Brothers, and they're not pub rock, so they're
Okay.
verboten from here. So Mark, I can't thank you enough for spending an hour and a half
Of
with
course,
me, just kibitzing about music. I love the book.
not at all.
You can find it. Can you find it on Amazon?
Yeah, you can
Can
find it on
you
Amazon. You could, some record shops have them because it's a 33 and a third series book, which was by
publication? Yeah.
Bloomsbury. You can go on Bloomsbury's website. I'm sure your local independent record or bookstore could probably order it for you.
Yeah. So it's a great read. It's laid out perfectly.
Thank you.
If if you're dangerous in this era of music, this book is fantastic because you'll learn more about what you already know, which is fantastic. Mark,
That's
thank you
great.
very
Thank you.
much. Safe travels. Say hi to Suggs and the boys for me
Yeah.
tomorrow if you can.
Okay.
So I'm just going to say goodbye from Detroit. Safe travels,
Thank you.
and hopefully we talk again.
Hey, thanks for your interest, Bob. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks. And thanks to Farmer John.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.